I guess right now it's just me. I just messaged Tim and see what he's up to. But I also started a live stream, so if you want to watch, you can head over to our YouTube. Not much to look at. It's just me, and I have my Discord open. I will drop a link to YouTube in a second so you can follow along there. Great. So I can't hear the room. Let me see if I can change that.
We have met multiple times, but my irrational fear. So I'm getting married soon, and I've had nightmares basically all this month about me taking a shower after getting my makeup done and not having my makeup or hair done anymore. And yeah, I've had that quote unquote nightmare at least 3 times now this month. So yeah, very mean of me, but that's my fear right now. Thank you.
What's going on, everyone? We're just working through some technical difficulties. Can anyone hear Tim? Yeah, it seems we cannot hear Tim. I just slacked him, and yes, thank you, Lapichu. I made this thumbnail in like 5 minutes. Literally just one step above MS Paint is what it is, you know. Thank you. Let me quickly check with Tim to see how his audio stuff is going. So while Tim gets that sorted out, I guess we can just start. You know, this before we jump into the Q&A, we can talk about the theme for this week. And this theme this week is something that Tim selected. And the prompt is, if you could travel to the past to take advantage of emergent technology, what is it and what would you be doing? That is the prompt. And I think I'll go first. I think this is a good time for me to get my list out. Oh, Tim just joined. Hey, Tim, can you say something? Yes. What's up? What's going on? Sometimes that happens. Yes, that would be a truly wonderful moment. Yeah, and I think that probably happened sometime in the Stone Age. Maybe there was some kind of contraption made of wood or something, and somehow turning it off now and again would have fixed it. But by the way, Tim, do you want to join the stream so we have you on the YouTube channel as well? Okay, I sent you the link on Slack. So, how cool is it that we get to have a conversation as if we're at work and people are listening to it? What's up? Yeah, it's cool. Yep. We are also live on YouTube, so come check it out. We have I can't think of a more delightful thing to watch than that, Tim. Yeah, so just going back to the prompt here, I think for me, okay, Tim just joined, add to stream. What's up, Tim?
Okay, I've got like this crazy echo going on from you now. So how do I make that go away? Oh, wow, it's like Tim and Andyception back here. Okay, we're set. How's everybody?
Good. Yeah, that fixed it. Nice.
Okay, awesome. That sounds okay.
Oh, no, it's back. It's back. I'm still getting a little bit of echo.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of echo. Not quite sure why.
I think, are you piping the audio output from Discord back into YouTube?
So tell you what, I think only one of us can be in.
I just muted your YouTube, so I think maybe fixed it. Yeah. Okay.
Your Discord. Bear with us while we kind of figure this out as we go, folks.
Okay.
And the irony here is
that's incredible. They must have heard how much work we've been putting into trying to get this thing to have both audio and visual and something that we can put on YouTube. Thank you, Discord. Thank you. Only a few weeks late, but whatever, it's fine. I'm not mad. Zero anger about this. All right, we can get started. Yeah, it doesn't count at all. Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you so much. Really quickly, I noticed that because we muted you on our YouTube, it is not going through to YouTube, your audio. So is there a way for us to, I wonder if the echo, is that just me getting the echo or are other people getting the echo?
It's us and I believe other people that are getting the echo. Um, uh, Anybody that was connected to Discord and YouTube, I think. Okay, so if it's just us, I might be able to.
Yeah,
Because if
so YouTube
I
is not getting echo.
okay, why don't you unmute me now that I have you muted and see if that resolves it? We may only have to do it one way. I
Yeah,
suspect it might be.
I think so too.
Okay, unmute me
Yeah,
there on YouTube, and are you good? You're not hearing two of me anymore.
you're unmuted on YouTube, but I'm hearing double. But I think it might just be me.
Okay, I'm not hearing double of me, and I'm not hearing double of you. So I'm thinking it might just be. Is that tolerable for you? Are you able to? Um,
It's fine for me. It's fine for
it,
me.
it's not uncomfortable. Okay, then I
Yeah, no,
guess
it's
we can
okay.
go with that. And we'll explore the new thing that they built because they got tired of seeing people do exactly what Andy and I just did on their platform live in front of lots and lots of people.
I know. I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised Discord hasn't done this a lot sooner because it seems like an obvious thing to do. But
I think getting to know kind of into the iterative product development as we really explore like what customers are doing with Deno and stuff like that. They probably had this all along, and it was just like a perf thing. Maintaining all those video streams at once, and reconnects and drains and all of that stuff. That's not really child's play. I'm really interested to see how they did it. I'm a little sad to see it's like nitro boosting up to 300 people because then you have to go out and ask people for nitro all the time to
yeah,
see. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I'm proud of us. We did something pretty cool in a very short amount of time.
yeah, we did it. We did it. Okay, yeah. So back to your prompt, Tim. I think for me, it really has to go. Back to the Betamax VHS wars. I think for me, I would
Mhm.
just have to, uh, convince them to convince whoever was in charge to go with Betamax because I think that one is the superior technology. I think that's my answer.
I viscerally agree with you, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
Probably because the first time I saw Indiana Jones and I think it was Raiders of the Lost Ark or it was on Betamax.
yeah,
And yeah. But I don't know why Betamax was better than VHS, but I think if you had, the world probably would have been a better place with Betamax.
yeah. I think Betamax. I think it was like one of those things where you could like replay it more often, or it could support more
Mhm.
like formats or something.
It
But like
wa-
VHS won because they just made it really cheap and they flooded the market with VHS tapes.
Around the time that Red Hat was becoming more commercially distributed, like you could pick up software boxes with CDs that had Red Hat in it. It was becoming more and more popular to do tape backups at home on VCRs, and VHS was like the most terrible thing ever for backups because it wasn't very durable. It didn't seek and reset very well. So yeah, Betamax probably was the best way to go. Because those you can get those on eBay today unsealed. They're worth a pretty penny, but they still play perfectly.
Hmm. That's awesome. Um, yeah. What about you, Tim? Did you answer already? I can't remember.
So I think I would probably go back in time to when Stack Overflow started and just bring a decade's worth of hard learned lessons that everything about community building is basically counterintuitive to what you think it would be when you apply it to like a global scale. And probably would have been able to write a book from that and retire pretty successfully. So that's what I was thinking. I didn't want to like alter the future in any way with my thing, but definitely I would have gone back to times when right around the time that Stack Overflow was coming out of the initial private beta, and we were all trying really hard to figure out how it would work, and invented all these rules and all these other things that made it like the most complicated place to ask a programming question in the world. So that's what I would probably do. I would go back and force ourselves to put in the work to keep it simple, so that yeah, that would be it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, like when you have something that is so like directly related to your own life, it's like, yeah, that makes sense that you'd want to go and make that adjustment.
Yeah, it was kind of like the one thing I wasn't able to talk loud enough back when we were coming up with lots of reasons why you would need to close questions on Stack Overflow, but we didn't invest a lot of time into putting reasons into why you would want to be really helpful and jump in and edit and that kind of stuff like that. So yeah, I would have gone back and spent more time putting out what's right about what we were trying to do and less about how it wasn't working. So yeah.
Yeah, and back then Stack Overflow was like a small site, huh, when it started, and now it's like such a
You
foundational part of every engineer's experience.
you literally can't avoid it. And the other thing that I would go back, information deprecation is a lot harder than code deprecation, and I would go back and teach myself that a long time ago. Outdated like documentation, prosaic format is much harder to test it to see if it's still relevant or valid. So just since no one knows if it's you know still worth anything, we keep it around, and people end up tripping on it in the search for like more modern stuff. But then when you go to um, fix that so that more modern answers are to the top, you end up like unseating these historical artifacts that got created with the way we used to do it. And that was also a much harder problem that I still haven't solved. They still haven't solved it. So I think I would have tried prioritizing managing information over the long term, especially when it comes to huge communities contributing to it, and literally millions of stakeholders. That's still a field of that I don't think we've conquered very well.
Yeah, I mean that just seems like a human information problem. Like, yeah, I don't know. It seems like some kind of social engineering kind of thing almost.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so should we pose this question to our audience of 18 listeners?
Yeah,
Anyone want to? Oh, I see Jeff has his hand up.
yeah.
Let's
Let's see.
invite to
Hey,
speak.
Jeff. Let's let Jeff.
What's up, Jeff?
Mm.
Yeah, those are great points.
POSIX was, and it was really, I think that the best word for it was just surreal, because you had BSD that did things completely different than Linux was doing it, and then you had all these different versions and distros that just for a while it felt like people were trying to be unique because they could, and that just caused chaos, and that I remember the way it was before, and I remember after, and after is definitely better. But yeah, there was so much more that we could do. Isn't there still an environmental variable that a lot of the GNU stuff will honor? It's like POSIX me correct, or POSIX me harder, or something. It's literally like if you want even more pedantic, strict things, you can ask for them by setting this environment variable true. I think it's POSIXly correct. Yeah. Are you referencing something that kind of came to pass around Halloween some time ago, when that whole embrace, extend, and extinguish philosophy came to pass? When we find out that Microsoft was actually trying to embrace open source in order to make it so complicated that no one would ever use it. The Halloween docs, if you ever want to Google that, it's a fun read. It was Eric Raymond reacted really strongly to it back then, and it was a pretty big thing. But honestly, as someone that went from DOS 3.3 and DOS 5 right to Windows 3.1, I wouldn't have thought that Windows had a fighting chance as anything. I owned a copy of Windows 3.1 and spent my money on it, and therefore I was too poor to afford a copy of DeskView or OS2, so I actually had to pirate those and use those instead. Because Windows was just so terrible at doing more than one thing at a time. Windows 3.1 it was interesting because it was a new experience for people that were used to DOS and had kind of played with things that had windowing operating systems before. But yeah, no one thought it was going to be the new thing, and then all of a sudden it was. Or at least, you can think back then and you could say nobody, and you're speaking for like millions of people in the past. That's not the case. Nobody I knew anyway thought it was going to be anything big, and we all thought Microsoft was kind of silly for doing it, but then it turned out to be the hugest thing ever. It was around then too that it started coming with things that you would buy, brands and stuff. It was like the default installed from the store, where in the past, in the x86 market, you put it together yourself. That was part of the appeal of the market. So Mercurial had a pretty strong following for a while, didn't it? I know it's still around, but I don't know if anybody doesn't Meta use Mercurial, or somebody does. Somebody big, one of the big ones do. I was surprised that didn't make a deeper dent in especially the free and open source community, especially because it was so extensible via Python. And it had a very well documented internal as well as external. Well, the external API wasn't so documented, but the internal was, and you could get it to do a lot of things. But ultimately, yeah, Git won, and the credentials that you need in order to get origin edgewise to something like Git, in order to just kind of rise above the crowd of people that also have very good ideas, I think is very, very high. And I'm certainly likely to never have them. So I would be interested in how you could, because remember, you can have anything you want when you go back there to make you successful. So maybe, I mean, if you would probably have to get a few doctorate degrees, in the bag, and stuff like that would have to be put in place to like get in front of Torvalds and convince him that you were right at the time, because he was, if I recall, very, very opinionated about how that should work. It I've had to work at jobs where I also provided like engineering support. It was just a function that DevRel in startup companies tends to do just about everything. And a lot of times this was a product that had to dealt with Git all the time. So I learned a lot about Git and Git internals, because half of the time it wasn't some problem with the product that I was supporting. It was actually a problem with something they had done to the repo that no one ever imagined anyone could do. So diagnosing strange Git things is like one of the very odd skills that I have that I know one day will make me be like that XKCD superhero comic where he swoops in with regex and saves the day. I'm going to sweep in and save the day with Git one day. I know, just because Linus made it so possible for me with the way it's complicated. That's cool. Let's.
All good. It's just Bartek. I noticed he hopped in, but I think he's on his phone, so I don't know if he wants to come join us. Oh wow, yeah. Honestly, because I started programming maybe like 8 years ago, and all I know is Git as version control. I don't know any other system. And Git is complicated. It took me a long time to like figure out how to use it. If anything was messed up in my repo, my first instinct would be to just delete the whole thing and clone it again, and just remake a branch, like, because it's like it's just too complicated. And the whole rebasing thing, I still don't get it. I have to like look it up every single time. Every single time I look it up, and cherry picking stuff, whatever. The whole fast forward thing, no idea what that means. I just default to whatever everyone else does. Like, I don't know, it's complicated. But I just try not to screw anything up. And the easiest way for me to fix things is just to nuke the whole thing and just clone again and just start over. So. I've seen that before, but I've never had to do it.
Oh yes. I love them, and I don't love undoing them. It is basically my opinion on submodules. I was doing a site with, this was before I had found out about Deno. I was doing a site for a personal project that would be like mostly private, but I wanted the wiki section and a few other things to be open source. So I used Docusaurus, and React and a bunch of other things. And I was able to accomplish what I wanted with submodules and everything. And I actually found that most hosting companies will automatically recurse submodules. I did not know that. So it was much less difficult to deploy with submodules than I thought it would be. But fixing a submodule issue is, especially if you aren't able to use Andy's cure all, which is just delete the damn thing and do it over again, it can be maddening when histories get intertwined. So, yeah. I think with everything else, Git tends to almost understate just how much you can get yourself in trouble with them. And I believe they call it stable. But that so but yeah, I like them. I think they're powerful. I think they're a much better way of having, if you're in a position where you have to pull from upstream a lot. If you've ever had to maintain a distribution and you really need to cherry pick a lot of new stuff before long-term evolution packages come out, they're great. But like with everything else, you can very, very quickly get tangled up in them to the point where you need a new Slinky.
It's a great solution.
Well, this is not really. This is a sort of product, and I don't even want to call it product because open source projects aren't products, right? They're projects. But it's one instance where it wouldn't be difficult to anticipate what most people would want to do with a submodule operation, which is just adding or removing, and sort of optimizing for that. But removing is just however that was implemented. Getting rid of them was just not something that they thought would be very, very common. It just felt, once you realize that yes, there's like 10 different things you have to do in order to get rid of them, you would think certainly someone would have automated this at least to test them, removing them. But it, yeah, it just didn't. It just, yeah, you kind of scratch your head. Yeah, I haven't done that yet. Every time I do it, I swear I'm going to do it next time, but then it's like 3 months. So I ended up, and I know what the documentation page looks like for it. That's how familiar I am with googling this problem. I can see a picture of it in my head, like a camera panning over it. I just can't quite read the words. Yeah, it's not the greatest of things, but um, thinking about it though, there stuff built on Git and around Git and using Git as a data store for practically anything. I mean, it's a huge enabler, and probably one of the most influential. Actually, Mr. Torvalds has contributed a significant amount of what has enabled modern software development, so to say, with those two things alone. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Well, it's not only practical, but you would also be creating the new super heaviest object in the universe, which would be a node modules directory with all of the individual modules and all of their history since the dawn of time. That would be the heaviest that laptop would be so heavy the TSA wouldn't let you get on a plane with it. I mean, that would just that would just be that would just be kind of ridiculous for caching. But yeah, it does solve the what I thought has always been a kind of um not really broken but not optimal directionality in the node ecosystem. It's really easy to consume code with node, and in PM it's much harder to say, hey, I appreciate this and I'm going to take 15 minutes to make your browser check work, which needs attention because it's blocking me, um, and submit it back. In order to do that, I mean, I really have to drop 2 or 3 things from my day in order to just do something which should only take like 15 or 20 minutes. So it's definitely a much better concept. But there's also submodules with shallow pools, and shallow pools are a thing. I didn't know that shallow pools were a thing until I started really working on continuous integration servers and realized that a lot of hosts save money by default by only pulling the last 2 weeks of history if you don't need the entire history for the whole project. So yeah, that is fun too. Yeah, Git has some really cool things you can do with it, and it's got lots of options for middleware. It's just you need to be 5 times smarter than me in order to know how to use most of it.
It's
Unless
true.
you're just using it by the command line. And when software engineers look at something and say that's really hard, it's really, really hard. That is not something that we say. We're known for oversimplifying things, if anything. So yeah, definitely. But Git is definitely and the submodule concept, yeah, it's I loved it. But everything you said right there, it's just that. And I wonder what a next app would weigh if we distributed the entire history of the entire projects with it. That would be interesting to calculate, just to, if not show how much work goes into making all this stuff that everybody uses and kind of takes for granted, while we're yelling about how much room it takes up. I use IPFS with pinning. Uh, or I love it because it's a really cheap content delivery network. Is essentially what you're getting at there. Mhm. It just yeah. It just I use something with a Filebase, and they have a S3 compatible API for IPFS. Yeah. So they handle they're a product led thing. They have a free thing where you get like a few gigs. And I use it because it's like a free CDN. So I put stuff there that I need people to be able to get around the world. But what they do is I think it actually gets hosted on SIA, and through their model they just generate enough to keep everything pinned there all the time, so you really don't have to worry about it. But yeah, I love um, uh, the whole concept of erasure coding really really fascinates me. um, I love thinking about RAID in planetary scale, instead of like JBOD. I love the resiliency and stuff to it, but I've really only scratched the surface of it. It's one of the coolest things that's come out of the whole Web3 sort of movement. And yeah, I want to spend some more time with it. I don't think
sounds
so.
familiar.
Can you
sounds
spell it?
familiar, but-
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it would be wonderful if that were to happen. If there could be sort of like a universal code store where you could just get that from the same place, and it would just be transcendent through everybody that used it. You wouldn't need 100 million copies of it if it could just be at the same place. I don't know if we're gonna see that in our lifetime. I kind of hope. I kind of hope we do, but I think we need internet connectivity to stop depending on copper pretty much everywhere before that would become a sort of a mainstream expectation. But yeah, that would be a lot better than what's currently going on. And the other thing I like about IPFS is there's very little waste there or duplication. Uh, period. It's just built into it, which I think is awesome. But uh, I really need to spend some time because just for a hobby sort of thing, studying better how it actually works, because it is really smart. It's smart IO, no matter how you look at it. And yeah, POSIX. I don't know. POSIX was meant to I think put a band-aid on things so that people could defend design decisions and go forward from them at some point. It in no way addressed all the problems that it did. And I would also agree that the GNU extensions, particularly in the C library, were a big part of why people were like, why do we even have POSIX if people just continue doing their own thing and enabling it by default anyway? So that's the other thing that was as POSIX started taking shape and becoming more restrictive. I think less and less people wanted it, and by that reason alone, it just became way less effective than it could have been. It is. And it's one of the reasons why I don't miss having the ultimate responsibility of delivering a certain shared object with these certain kinds of permissions and the certain kinds of symlinks that it needs and everything to the exact location on that one version of this thing that I have to support. It's just not my not the thing I want to do anymore, honestly. And I don't envy developers that have to maintain packages that have to install universally like that anymore. I honestly don't, especially those that are part of the core utilities and other parts that just it's too many cooks in the kitchen, so to say.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much, Jeff. I saw some other hands go up, and we want to make some time for some other people. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. We really appreciate it. And we are going to invite Ev Brogue. Here we go. Yes. How are you?
I wasn't watching it. I wish I could actually.
Yeah, I'm not a deploy expert, so we may have to route this question to a deploy team. But yeah, unfortunately, we won't be able to answer you right now, but we could definitely get you an answer.
Yeah.
in a
If
few
you
days. Okay.
so for the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the iOmega zip drive. I'm sorry, I heard you say zip drives. Yeah, no, those things were never quite caught on. Yeah, I had a my first Pentium This is I had gone from a 486 DX class to a Pentium, and that thing got fried in a surge, and I was very, very, very upset when that happened. Modern power supplies are a lot better at not dying when those sorts of things happen, and they have those semi the metal oxide things that can just absorb tons and tons of surge. But yeah, the iOmega drives never they were a great concept. They were like a super 3.5-inch floppy, and you could like hard drives you could put in your pocket. And I'm surprised. I think people saw the future was like just much bigger internal storage instead of the need to have those backpack things. For the synchronization stuff, we are working on and I have seen deploy developers playing with during screen shares KV stores, so that you will be able to synchronize between regions that will be offered as part of deploy. Our answer, yeah, I think it's complicated enough that our answer to that is to say that we have to provide you with a means of doing it. But I have been using Atlas. It generally keeps things in pretty good state. But with all of the different SaaS options out there, that's kind of the point. I think we'd want to try to address most cases on deploy itself with an API that you could use exactly for that. And if that wasn't good enough for you, then you could probably go with one of the more premium networks that do that sort of thing for you. But I've never had to implement it regionally myself before. But that's definitely, if you can ping me in the conversation there in Slack, I can. We have people are going to be out of the office for a considerable amount of next week, but when folks get back, I will be able to get that in front and see what our deploy devs recommend.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate your question. And now we will invite Lino Levin to speak.
Yeah, Lino, welcome back.
Hi, Lino.
Mm-hmm.
All good. Hmm.
Much less the voice in your head trying to pronounce that, serial of consonants. Yeah. I I learned C. My first exposure to C code was, this is kind of embarrassing, but I guess I can, tell the whole world. Why not? It was dial-up BBS software called WWIV, written by someone named Wade Bell out in California, and he didn't even write it in C. He wrote it into Pascal and used some sort of translation software to convert it, quote unquote, into C. And this was in the early 90s, so you can imagine the quality of that code. And that was my first exposure. And this is C, and this is what it's supposed to look like. And yeah, that took me some time to unlearn, if you can imagine. But wasn't it compilers at the time and the whole portability thing? Weren't there segments for how long like strings of function names could be in order to work on certain platforms? like if function names were more than 6 letters or so, it was a problem on something. I have one more theory, and it's been tested before in the wild, and that is that programmers are really bad at naming almost everything.
Always. Always.
We entire marketing departments have been launched because this is universally pretty much the case. We are also really bad at UX almost all the time too. If anybody has ever seen that graphical interface for wget that was floating around Twitter some time ago, so the answer is why is it like that, or why is it like that is probably also because we can't have nice things because we do it to ourselves. But I don't know. I don't remember underscores being I remember underscores being how everybody coded because we wanted to be able to read it. And I remember them not. Yeah, I don't know why that was the way it was, but we should totally go back and fix that. We should. I mean, yeah, it was difficult to type that stuff sometimes, especially if you were dyslexic, and then your compiler would. So we're coming up on time. We have one more. Jabolo, welcome. And they're on mobile too, so let's give them a second to connect. Hello?
Hi, Jabelo.
Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, JavaScript has a whole slew of weird issues with it. It was made in like a week or something, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, I would watch a documentary about JavaScript. It seems like a pretty interesting story about how it even came about, and the impact it has. Yeah, and the impact it has on development, web development, things like that.
When was Lua invented?
Not sure. It sounds like it's recent though, like within the past like 15 years.
1993. Yeah. So Lua was an option if somebody wanted to do something radically different with a browser and have a different language in which to talk to. Yeah, I don't know why anybody ever said, why don't we make browsers with I guess it would be like just fear of adoption. That you would be the only browser to use it. Yeah, that's actually worth going back and watching. Like Andy said, stuff. That's interesting. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, because our YouTube isn't picking up the audio from our guests, Tim. So I've been summarizing their points and putting into our YouTube chat.
Okay, that is
but we can
interesting.
figure that out for next time.
Okay. Yeah. we would have to figure out kind of which way the audio is routing through if that's not the case, because it's not the way we think it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to figure that out for next time. But next time we're going to try to use that stage plugin
Yes.
with the video, and it can accommodate up to 300 people without having to beg for nitro. So
Great.
yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for listening in. Before we
Yeah.
sign off, we did just release Deno 131. The big headline news there is that Deno now will auto discover your package.json file. So you can use Deno to install dependencies, resolve dependencies, and you can even use Deno task on the scripts in your package.json file. So look at that. How crazy is that?
Yeah, that is super awesome. And I think it's going to be really helpful for people out there that want to use tutorials written for Node, and they can just use Deno with them for the most part now. Like you can use Express with Deno, no problem.
Yep.
A bunch of other things. So
Yep.
yeah, super interesting. Go check it out. And there's also more in there too. So actually recording the video for that today. And
Yes, we'll have a video coming out on that
on
and then
Monday.
yes, and our blog post is live. So I'll drop a link to the blog post in our Discord so you can take a look at it. But definitely give 131 a spin. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, and thanks for spending another Friday afternoon with us. We appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
And we will see you in 2 weeks with, I think we're going to try to do one where we can arrange it so that we can have a lot of questions about deploy and fresh, and see if we can figure out a way to have those folks be able to interact and answer a little bit more. The problem is geographically, that's like the worst possible combination of things that need to happen at the same time. But we are working on seeing what we can do. Maybe have this a little bit earlier, possibly a little bit later, in order to accommodate some of those folks. But we'll see if we can set that as a goal for 2 weeks from now.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, Andy, I will miss you and your Model M, but it is Friday, and I am going to get my work done. Commence.
Awesome. I will talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, everybody.
See you, everyone.